Hello YouTube, Tammy is a yarn crafter here, hopefully with a pretty quick video for you. Start off with, I hope everyone's having a good week so far. Myself, not bad. Other than I think I lost my head a little earlier today. I'll get into that in a moment. So, my item I was making for my head to toe winter knit is done. So you guys will see that Friday. And if you want to help me pick the next item I will make out of my Head to Toe Winter Knits book, you're more than welcome to go over to my post page under all my information, like where I put my videos and lives and my about page and all that stuff. There's this tab called post that used to be called, I don't remember what it was called, but it's now called a post page. And the very first post you will find is a poll I've got up of 3 items. Pick 1, 2, or 3. It doesn't really matter. The whole book will get made sooner or later. It's more for my entertainment. That will be closing on Friday, and I hopefully will be announcing the next project. So, going back to me losing my mind. As a crafter, I'm sure you guys have all done something like this in your past, or will do it someday in the future, or how to do it all the time, or never do it. Who knows? So, because I got my winter knits project done, I got my things to make a Thursday project done, and I'm only making the one, so you'll see that on Thursday at some point, probably later in the afternoon, evening kind of time frame. I decided I don't really want to start a new project. I do have one in mind of something I might want to make, but it all depends on which knitting needles I order from Amazon as to if I'm going to make this project I have in mind or if I'm not going to need to make this project. I'll explain that at a later date. So I decided, okay, you know what, let's pull Sophie out. You guys haven't seen her in a while. I have not really touched her in a while, worked on it, kind of thing. And this is where I lose my mind. Start off with the hook I'm using, and I'm making sure I make a good point of saying what hook it is my G 4.25 hook. It's a light lavender color, okay, just a standard metal hook. And the reason I'm making this well known is because normally on the short rows of where I am in my blanket, I kind of weave my hook in and out of those stitches. Well, I guess at one point, for some reason, instead of weaving it in and out of those stitches, I decided to put my hook into my notions bag, which is Perry the Platypus pencil case I have that I use for my notions. And then at some point, like I said, Sophie hasn't been out and about for a little bit, so this is going back probably close to a month ago now. I realized I had 2 or 3 crochet hooks in my pouch. None of them were getting used at the time. I wasn't working on anything. Didn't think anything of it. Took them all, those hooks, and threw them in my holder where I keep all my hooks. So again, I pulled out Sophie today. I am looking through her from one end to the other to see if my hook's woven in between stitches somewhere. No hook. I then pull out the other 2 cakes I already have in my bag, project bag, waiting to be used. Checking, maybe see if the hook was jammed in one of the cakes by mistake or accidentally or whatever. Squished them all, no hook. I looked in the bottom of the bag. It's a Michael's reused it bag that I'm using for this project. No hook in the bottom of the bag. And I thought, oh boy. I then got out the book and literally went through the book page by page. And at the very back of the book, I have 2 ball bands because I've almost finished 2 cakes of the yarn I'm using. I thought maybe I wrote it on there, what hook I'm actually using, or made a notation in the book somewhere of the yarn I'm using, the hook I'm using, even though I'm keeping the bands, so I know what yarn. Nothing. I thought, okay. So I thought, let's pull up some of my videos of my whips and let's see if one of them I happen to mention the hook I'm using. I found the earliest video I could possibly find with Sophie in it, and there's no mention of my hook. And I was a fair ways into it. So hopefully I've got her a couple other videos, but they're not under the whips. I just got to figure out what it was, or was going to figure out what it was. I said, you know what? Nah. So I looked at the band again for the Caron Skinny Cake, and the size of the hook it recommended was a 4mm G6. And I thought, okay. So I went looking in my stash of hooks, and I found this one, which is a G6 4.25. And I was almost certain this was the hook I was using for some reason. This was the one that, really spoke to me as to the hook I was using. And then I pulled out my 4mm hook that I have. And that one doesn't have a size, like a letter on it or anything like that. It was a different set. And I looked at a few other hooks and I thought, okay, I don't think it's the 4s. I think it's the 4.25, the G I'm using. So I thought, let's try it. Let's hope I'm close. Even when I held the two hooks together, like the 4 and the 4.25 and the 4.5, just, to cover bases, there wasn't much difference between this hook and the smaller hook and this one and the larger hook. But between those two hooks itself without this one, there was a bit of a difference. So that's when I look at the colors of the three hooks because they're all metal. This one really, really screamed to me like this is the one I'm using. So I thought, okay, I've already got the round on the go that I'm working on. And there was this beautiful petals for the one flower that you're making on the short rows. I was at that point in the pattern. So I decided to make the second set of petals flower. And I compared the two side by side on top of each other, feeling them to see if they feel roughly the same thickness. If by chance this is the wrong hook, I'm awfully close to the proper hook. I'm just using this hook. I made an executive decision. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference in the pattern and make it the blanket look wonky in any which way. So I also made sure in my book, because where I keep track of where I am in the pattern with a piece of paper from a Michael's pickup for this yarn, actually. I've been checking, like write down which round I'm on, and then when the round's finished, checking it off, because I have a habit lately, especially on the more bigger rounds, of stopping mid-round and then not being 100% sure where I'm on. And I know one of the time when I pulled Sophie out, I was almost certain that I was on a specific round and I was at a specific point, and this is where the round ended, and I had a mess on my hands. So I figured out, no, let's rip it back a couple rows and do this. So on that piece of paper, on the other side of the Michael's paper, where it gives you cutting information and all that stuff, I wrote on it hook size, G6, 4.25mm, lilac color hook. Just so I know, and hopefully I don't go losing my hook again. But you never know, right? So let's show where I was last time. Which this other one over here should be start of the row. Yeah. Okay. So not that hook. There's stitch marker. It's this one. So I'm trying to get organized here, people, and not doing a very good job. Okay. So on this end of the short row, beginning of the long row, is where I left off last time. I've only done a couple rounds since, so there's a long row currently where I'm at. I'm going to move my hook over, or my stitch marker over here. So let's do that now. I'm thinking of it. Put it on. Okay, yarn everywhere here. Just don't want to hook it into the working yarn. Okay, there she goes. So again, there is the long side and how it looks. Hope you guys can get a pretty decent look at it. And then here is the short side. And as you can see, there's a lot of single crochets in here. And that's usually where I attach the hook to. Now for this round I'm on right now, the short sides all work in the back. So it'd be interesting to see what next round calls for. But the petal of the flower I was comparing was this green one, which I had done with previously. And I compared it to the next one, which is right here. So I compared the two together, and I thought they were, I know I'm not showing it off very well for you guys, but I compared the new one with the old one, and to me they feel, look the same, so we're going with it. Like I said, if the hook's off by one size, I really don't think it's going to make much of a difference. But I'm trying not to move it as fast because when I was watching the video, I noticed it makes me very dizzy and I have to apologize. So there's kind of how the long row's working. It is getting shorter. And we'll go with this one again. And here's what the short row's looking like. And as you can see, it is getting longer. I am on currently round 65. Yeah, I'm on round 65. And there's 118 rounds, I believe. So I'm getting there. Every stitch gets you that much closer. I know. I was hoping to be done this round, but I am not. So who knows when I will show her next. Like I said, I do plan on putting an order into Amazon. Hopefully in the next few days I have some winnings I won, and I'm not quite sure when that Amazon prize is coming in, like e-transfer type monetary prize. So I don't know about when exactly that's coming, but once it does come in, like I said, I do want to get some new knit needles and circulars because I really don't like using regular like knitting needles, and I know I don't have a whole lot of circulars. So well, like I said, we'll see what set I like and kind of gravitate to and purchase. So again, like I said, tomorrow you will see Things We're Making Thursday project I made for the month. And it's also not just for Things We're Making Thursday. It is a triple hitter. It will also be entered into Nan's Crochet Ideas, which will gave me the stitch. And it's also going to go into Judy at Witch Piece Crafts, which was the YouTuber I took my color inspiration from. So yeah, if you want to see that, come back tomorrow and have a look. And then Friday, I will have my finished object, which is the Headstone Winter Knit project. I will show you guys what project won the poll. If there's a definite winner, if you don't know what I'm referring to, go back to a previous Finish Friday video, and I explained, like when I showed the next 3 items, I also explained how I'm working out the ties. So come back Friday to see that, and who knows what else I may have for you between now and next time. So have a great day, guys. Thanks for listening, and I will talk to you all later. Bye for now.